Well, hi, everybody. Thank you all so very much for joining me today. I'm Emily from Training in Transit, and today is Mindset Matters because it does. Mindset matters. Tips and tools to help you make and crush your health and fitness goals. Now, understand that, of course, the tips that I'm going to discuss today apply to everything that matters to you in life. It can be wanting greater success, wanting more happiness, wanting to improve your relationship, your health, and your fitness goals, right? It all applies here. Oops, sorry. So let's move on, shall we? So check this out. What is this presentation about? Well, I just said it, right? Mindset, okay? It's our mindset. I got a little typo here. Oopsie. How do we use our mindset to become our healthiest, fittest versions of ourselves, even when we love the couch and the sweets? Because come on, don't we love to do a little binge watch session on the couch with a chocolate or some chips or, you know, I'm not perfect either, right? So, how do we change our mindset so that we can accomplish our health and fitness goals? Well, it comes down to well, several things, but we're going to talk about 5 really important points today that will help you obtain your health and fitness goals. We're going to discuss your why. Why does it matter? Why do you want to do it? Why is it so important to you? And I don't just mean, why do I want to lose 20 pounds? I want to lose 20 pounds because I'm tired of my gut. Okay, that's the first response. We're going to we're going to ask that question 7 cycles through to get to your real deep, get to the heart of it, literally. Why you want to lose the weight, okay? We're going to talk about your goals. We're going to write them out. And writing them is so important because it forces you to slow down and you are able to digest what you're writing out so much more. It's really important to write it, not just type it, okay? We're going to visualize it. And I know some of you are like, oh my gosh, visualization feels like meditation. I don't like meditation. It works, my friends. Just stay open minded with me about the visualization. Be resolute. Yes, we're going to be resolute, okay? And of course, we're going to talk about accountability, right? Being accountable, okay? We're going to talk about ways, workarounds for accountability. If you're like, I can't be accountable for my, we can find ways to get accountability, even if it's not specifically from yourself, okay? Now, let's talk about mindset and this definition because it's such a great definition. The established set of attitudes held by someone. The established, let that sit in. The established set of attitudes held by someone. It's subjective. It's a set of attitudes. So the definition in and of itself means it can be changed. It's a set of attitudes held by someone. It can be changed, right? That's powerful, if you ask me. I thought and thought about that. That's really powerful. So let's move on and get rocking. Hi, as I said, I'm Emily, and I'm a kooky, silly person. And I can be serious and cutthroat and really determined. I'm a little bit of everything. So, front and center there at the top is me and my mom last Christmas. Yes, she may kill me if she knows this photo is here. Yeah, we're wearing matching pajamas. She bought them, and so we rocked them out. I think that maybe it was Christmas night. There's a picture of me backstage with a little girl after the Nutcracker one year. This is rather recent. I mean, the last few years, maybe 4 years ago, one of my last major shows I did. Me having some fun in the snow. There I am with my nephew, a wonderful. This is actually one of my a ballet mistress that I absolutely adored. Having some fun together. Yes, I like to be silly. I did go axe throwing, and look, even from a very young age, this is my old dance partner. We danced together for a year or two. He is as huge as he may seem there. I'm 5'7", but and I know I'm on the floor, but still, he's 6'8", my friends. Huge guy. And I was helping him with his feet. He was having some discomfort in his ankles. He was presenting as Achilles tendonitis, which can be really painful, especially when you're dancing and having to use your feet a lot and control movements. So I was helping him learn how to better work his feet and learn how to track his feet correctly through the center. He was doing some funny stuff. So someone took a picture of me helping him out, and this was a few years ago. So it's been in my bones for a while to help others with their body. I've been honing and crafting my body and dedicated my body to fitness, to health and nutrition from the time I was like 7 or 8, because in order to perform at such a high level, I had to be getting proper sleep. I had to be feeding my body correctly. And clearly, I mean, I had to be training it physically like all the time in order to stay at the top. It took a lot of work. Okay. And even if it's you wanting to be peak in your job in corporate America, you've got to be feeding it well and you've got to be sleeping and, to keep your mind sharp, right? What you put into your body matters. It really does. It really, really does. So anyway, with that, we're going to get rocking. So before we dive fully into the why, just a little bit more about me, right? So I danced professionally for 20 years and I have a background in corrective exercise. I have a certified strength and conditioning specialist certification through the National Academy of Sports Medicine. And I am a women's fitness specialist. And I have a full comprehensive Pilates certification. I've got like 8 different certifications. I think that, knowledge is power. And I want to be able to take as much knowledge as I can in, and then share it with my clients to be sure that I give them what they need, what they want, and get them feeling better. So you can trust that I'm an expert in what I do with health and wellness, with your physical fitness and all that good stuff. Yes? So what and why? What is it that you're wanting to do? What is it? What is your goal? My friends, we got to know why. So just think about what brought you to this presentation today. Some of you are just here to support me, and I love you all for that. But those of you who are needing to make some real changes in your life, health and fitness based, success wise, climbing that ladder, if that's what it is too, whatever it might be, why do you want to do it? Because if you really, really, really know why, you aren't going to keep quitting, because you're going to remember that why. When the stuff gets tough, you're going to go back to that why, and that is going to be all you need. But I mean, you can't just go a superficial level of why. This is where we get into the 7 layers deep. This guy right here, Dean Graziosi, pretty awesome dude. Dean Graziosi talks about the 7 layers deep. Here we go.
Called the 7 levels deep. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And this is an exercise that you do, right? And what is this exercise for? Okay. And how does it go?
Okay. So 7 levels deep was probably the biggest impact, the biggest thing in the impact of my life ever.
Really?
Yeah. One day. So I hired a guy named Joe Stump. Do you know Joe Stump?
No.
Great guy. He's in the marketing world, but I hired him because I want more engagement with my students. So it's all about, if you can get somebody to digest some of your book, if somebody will read 30 pages of your book, they'll read the whole book. But how do you get them to the first 30 pages? So I'm always obsessing and trying to create ethical bribes, whatever I can do to get you to take action, right? We know books work. It's the books and the action. So anyway, so Joe comes in and I said, I want to do whatever I can. And he said, have you ever done the 7 levels deep? I don't know where he got it from. This is probably about 8 years ago. She was 2. So about 8 years ago. And I said, well, if it's good, just give it to me.
Right.
I'll take it. I'll take it. And he's like, I want to go through it with you. I'm like, listen. And I paid Joe 10 grand for half a day of consulting at the time. And he's like, I said, I want to go through. I just want it. He goes, I won't give it to you unless you do it. So we sit there, and what the 7 levels deep is finding, everybody wants to know your purpose and what's this meaning of life and what's my why and all that. I get it. And it's kind of played out, but I don't know if anything really gets to the heart of it as simple as this. So what it basically was, he's like, why would you give me 10 grand for half a day? And I said, because I want to create a company that stands out from everybody else. I want to engage more students, change more lives. And he basically said to me, that's a really great answer. So I asked you why I'm here. And you said you want to engage more students and get more people to change their lives. So why is it important for you to engage more students and change people's lives? And I remember saying, there's a lot of people in this industry that shouldn't be here, and there's some great people. I want to help rise all boats of the good and push the rest down. I want to leave a legacy for my kids. So he said, okay, I asked you why you paid me 10 grand. I'm not going to go through this whole thing. And he's like, you did this, you said you wanted to stand out and you wanted to leave a legacy. So why is it important to leave a legacy? And the whole point is asking the previous question 7 times. I took that day. By the time I got to the 3rd question, what happens is when there was 3 questions left, I should say, he asked me 4 times, it switched from my head to my heart. And I felt my physiology change. I felt my emotions change. I felt like tears welling up. And when he asked me, and I don't even remember what the fourth thing I said, but the third thing I said was, I never want to go backwards. And he got me thinking about things I haven't thought about in years.
Wow.
I didn't like being the kid with hand-me-downs, and I'd make my parents drop me off down the street with their junky car, and I'd go to lunch. And this is not a poor me. My life was designed to be exactly the way it was, or I wouldn't be the man or the father I am today. But there was days I'd go to school without lunch money, and I just tell my buddies I'm not hungry because we didn't have a buck, right? So I never want to go back there. And I felt that emotion, and it hit me so hard. I'm like, that's what it is. And he's like, well, there's 2 more left. So he said, Dean, why is it important that you never go backwards? And I'm like, God, I don't know. And it hit me, and I thought, my kids, I just want to give them options. I don't want to raise entitled kids or brats, but I want to give them options that I didn't have. And I'm like, that's it. So he's like, well, that's not really it, 'cause it's 7. It's not 9. It's not 5. It's 7 levels deep. And by now I'm crying because I'm thinking about my kids, literally. And I got half my staff there, and I'm like just weeping. And it came to me. He said, why is that important? And it just hit me. And I never knew why I worked so hard since I was cutting firewood in high school and did all this stuff. I said, I need to be in control of my life. And these emotions flooded in my parents. Everybody's got their thing, right? But for me, and I'm saying this because I want you at home to be, or when you're watching this, listen to this. I realized that my parents were married 9 times when I was a kid. So I moved 20 times by the time I was 19. Different stepbrothers, stepsisters.
Both parents were married.
5 for my dad, 5 for my mom, 4 for my dad.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's crazy. Always moving. Like military kids know what that feels like, right? So I'd be in a cul-de-sac with a new stepdad, stepbrother, stepsisters, have the bike, come home one day, and my mom's like, we're moving again. And then I move in with my dad, move in with my grandmother. So I had this crazy hopscotch my whole childhood. There was no certainty. So what I realized at that moment, literally, I'm bawling. Like literally crying. It's like, I don't want anybody to ever tell me when to move, how to dress, how to live, how to work, how I'm going to raise my kids. It's definitely not going to kiss somebody's ass for money. Right. And I realized at that moment, my why was I don't want to be a control freak. I just want to be in control. When I was 27, I retired both my parents. I stopped worrying about them. I took care of my grandmother. I take care of something. So I got those problems out of the way. And when I anchored that in, and you watching at home, it's like, if you think you're watching this because you want to be an entrepreneur, or you already are. If you're watching this, you've already had great success in your life. You want that next level, or maybe it's income, or better health, or better diet, or better physiology, whatever it is you want. So many times we think it's because I want to get out of that job. I want this freedom. I just want more money. I want to take the better vacations. And it's 7 times deeper than that. And when you find that, and the reason I know this, not only because it wasn't just transformational to me, is I did live events in Las Vegas for 6 years straight. Every single month, there was 400 people in the room that paid 20 grand to go to
real estate events, right?
Real estate events. So about 5.5 years, I did them every month in Las Vegas. So once a month I'd fly in, and that was like the highest level. And every single month I'd pick somebody out of the audience, and I'd say, come on up, let's do this 7 levels deep. Like, I got it, man. I know what it is. And I'm like, okay, so like, I'm gonna give you a quick example. I won't beat this up, but this is so important because when you feel fatigued, when you want to say no, when you don't want to go to the gym, when you don't want to make that sales call, when you don't want to get your funnel working, when you don't want to start new, when you don't want to say no to someone you should say no to, or say yes to someone else you should say yes to, literally for me still, I fall back on my why. And when I think of my kids and going backwards and being in control, I could push through anything. Nothing will stop me. A bad day. I don't know what it's like to be sick because my mind, I can program my brain to just power through because I focus foundationally on this why.
Right.
So I remember this guy, he was awesome. Big dude, he had dreadlocks. He was like 6'7". I mean, 6'5". He was huge. This awesome dude. He comes up. He's like, man, like pick me up. He gives me this big hug. He's like, so I said, why are you here? He's like, I already know, dude. You're not going to get 7 levels on me. You're not gonna. I've already done the exercise. He says, I'm here because in my neighborhood, there's no dads. There's not enough dads in my neighborhood. I grew up without a dad. These kids need dads. So I'm making money in real estate, and I'm starting this youth group. I already had dad. We get dads together and we go spend these days. He had this amazing story. And I melted on the first one. I said, well, why is that important? He goes, dude, what do you mean, why is that important to you? Of course it's important. And he's laughing, he's joking, and he gives me another reason. I want more money because I want to build a building for it. But I could tell he was still in his head. He gets to number 2 or 1, and everything changed on him. He gets small and he starts crying. I mean, like uncontrollable crying. And he gets to his number 1. He's like, my mom raised a good boy, but when she died 9 years ago, I was a drug addict. And she never saw the man she created. And she said, I'm showing her in heaven what a man I'm saying it right now. I got physical good. Yeah. He said that. And he said, I'll never stop now. I'll never stop. And again, we all have our own reasons for doing stuff, but when you get to the heart of why you're watching, why you do what you do, it's so much deeper than what you think. And I forget sometimes. I hope I don't sit here and seem like I got my life all figured out. I've been blessed to have I've had more blessings in my life than I ever could imagine. If somebody would have told me at 25, this is where I'd be, I'd say impossible. So I appreciate my blessings, but I'm not perfect at all this stuff, but when I practice these habits, when I think through this, when I recognize my why, the days that I'm off track, the days I think I bit off more than I can chew, or the days where I feel like I plateaued, when I go back to that why, it's like game over. You're not getting in my way. Nothing is.
All right. We can all hear me still, right? Yeah, cool. Pretty cool, right? Now, obviously, again, this applies to everything in your life, right? Even mentioned it, right? It applies to health and fitness too. Okay. So this is where we need the pen and paper. Okay. I want you to write it out. I want you to write it out because you develop a much stronger conceptual understanding when you write something versus when you type it. It forces you to slow down. Okay. So here's your assignment. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes. In fact, I'll even set the timer. Okay. 5 minutes of time for you guys to figure out what your why is. Why do you want to be healthier? Why do you want to lose 20 pounds? Why do you want to get a raise? Whatever it is for you. Okay. Successful real estate investor is what we happen to have in here. But in training and transit, of course, we're really focused on the health and wellness, but it can be whatever it is for you. Okay. I want you to take a few minutes and I want you to write it out and just go through, right? You've got 7 levels to get through. The answer of your question is now the question for the next one, right? All right, timer starts now. You got 1.5 minutes left for those of you who need a little bit more time, just so you know. And if you don't get all 7 today, that's okay. It's okay too. All right, you can start wrapping up. So if you're still working on it a little bit, that's okay. I'm going to share a little story with you guys. So again, as we know, I am a retired ballet dancer. Hi, Trisha, it's good to see your face. So when I first started my career, when I graduated from high school, and I left home early. I left home at 16 years old because I was wanting to have this, this trying to, running after this dream of being a ballet dancer. Okay. And so I left home young and I finished high school in a boarding high school for performing arts. And when I graduated high school, I actually had a contract with a small company, a small regional company in the United States. And I thought, man, I don't want to do that because I think I can do better. I think I can do better, but I need more training. I just need to, I need to tighten up and hone in my technique a little bit more, and I can get into a better company. So both families being from the East Coast, centered around the New York City area, I had an aunt and uncle living in Staten Island, which is part of New York City, if for those of you who may not know. And so I moved in with my aunt and uncle at 18 years old. And just as a test run, I went into the city, Manhattan. When I say the city, I mean Manhattan. And I was just taking a few classes. They were what we call open classes, so anyone can go into the class, okay? But this place, it's called Steps. Not that it matters, but it's quite famous globally. For anyone who's very serious about dance, they know Steps, okay? And amazing, wonderful teachers. They teach there. And so anyway, I took a few classes, and at the end of this one class, the teacher, I said, thank you for class. And he's like, I want to train you. And I was like, oh, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, I want to take you under my wing and I want to mentor you and I want to take you on a full scholarship because you have a lot of talent and I want to train you. And I was like, oh my gosh, because I was already trying to figure out how am I going to afford this? I've graduated high school. I don't know what the heck I'm going to do, but I'm going to try to figure it out. So I was like, amazing, right? So then it was like really official. Okay, I'm hanging out, I'm staying in New York, and I'm going to train with this guy. And so I start training regularly with him. It was pretty intense. I mean, it was like 6 hours of training every day, 7 days a week. Well, okay, I lied. 6 days a week, 5 days a week, 6 hours a day. Saturday and Sunday was just like 3 hours a day. Saturday and Sunday, okay? So it was lighter on the weekends. But I still had to go into the city every day. Now, going into the city from Staten Island on public transportation, 17 miles in the New York City area is a long distance. That's far, okay? We're talking an hour and a half for me to get to class, to the studio every day to train. So I'd spend 3 hours alone just in traveling to get to class and to be coached. So I don't know, I was probably 6 months into this and he was super intense. I was very broke. My parents were giving me a little bit of money just to try to support me a little bit, like $100. Mind you, love my parents. They were doing their best to be very supportive because I had turned down a full academic scholarship to the University of Michigan because I had to dance. And my mom was like, okay, honey, go for your dream, right? So that alone was tough for them. But so anyways, they're doing their best and they're trying to give me $100 a month to support me a little bit. And I was dog walking and I would get $40 a week. Now, just to put this a little bit more in perspective, at the time, the subway, the transportation, it was $1.50 to get each way, and I needed to do it 7 days a week. So it was $3 a day times 7. It was $21. So out of my 40, I had 19 bucks to eat. Okay. And then $100 a month is basically going to my aunt and uncle just as like a, a thank you and help with like some basic expenses for electricity and things like that. Right. It was like my rent. So I was really, really tight. Literally, I would go to the grocery store. I got really savvy. I'd always have a can opener in my dance bag. And I would go to the grocery store. I realized it was a lot cheaper just to go to the grocery store. I could buy a can of black beans for 99 cents. Take the little can opener. I always, of course, had a spoon or something. And I would just eat a can of black beans. It was $1, right? Protein, fiber, we got it all in there. And it was enough to sustain me and keep me going. So it was tough, okay? So I'm doing this and we're 6 months in and I'm just like, man. And one small other thing that's important to note, I come from super duper duper country. I mean, like no neighbors, dirt roads, horses, and forest. Like, and the town, it was about 1,200 people, and we were very far outskirts of town, like a half an hour away to even get into the town. So, I mean, there was nothing around. So I came from country to big bad city, New York City, crazy pants. So I'm like overwhelmed by the city all the time and being drilled, and I'm exhausted and I'm hungry. Like it's kind of a little bit of a lot. Okay. So here I am. It's, I don't know, like I said, about 6 months in, I'm getting up, walking over to the bus. I'm going to take the bus. Then I'm going to take a ferry. There's a lot of water around New York City. And then from the ferry, I'm going to get on the subway. So now I hit Manhattan, got across the ferry, and I'm like, I'm just tired. I'm just tired. I'm going to take the bus today, and I'm going to stare out the window. And I know it's going to take longer, and I might be a little late getting to class, but whatever. I need to stare out the window a little bit and listen to some music, right? So I'm on the bus, heading to the studio, and I'm like, man, this is not how I dreamt it was going to be. This dream of mine that I want to do is really hard. So we're getting close to the dance studio now, and I'm like, no, I'm not getting off the bus. I'm not going to get off the bus. So the bus keeps going, and I just look at the dance studio as it goes by. And I'm like, I'm going home. At that moment, I'm going home. I'm going back to Michigan. Screw this. The night before, I had been on the subway. Well, not really. I was getting on the subway to go home the night before. So just a little side note here. And an old woman, because I was tired, my body was sore, and I'd been working hard all day, getting yelled at by my coach, trying to get my technique right. And I walk slowly into the train. She starts hitting me with her umbrella. I kid you not, this is a true story, my friends. And I was like, for real? For real? Like, the train is still here. You're going to make it on the train. Right? So maybe this is what led me to the next day being what it was. So studio goes by, a couple stops go by. I hop off and I walk into the bank. I had about 80 bucks in my bank account. I pulled all of it out. And then I had to get across town and into Midtown. And I bought a one-way bus ticket to Michigan because that's all I could afford. I couldn't buy an airline ticket, so I bought a one-way bus ticket. And I was like, cool. All right. I got the next bus out on the Greyhound. And I don't know, it was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. All I remember now is that it's like 11 o'clock at night and I'm in Ohio. Oh God, I'm aging myself. I did not have a cell phone. There was no cell phone, okay? So we're at a stop in Ohio. And I was like, oh man, I got to call. First of all, I got to call my aunt and uncle because I have not shown up and it's 11 o'clock at night. But my parents also need to know, right? So I'm like, I have a payphone and I call my parents. I'm like, hey guys, I'm in Ohio. I don't think I can do this. Can you please pick me up at the bus stop in Michigan? I'll be there at 6 a.m. And also, can you call Aunt Peggy? That's my aunt. And let her know I'm not coming home tonight because I am coming to you guys. And she's like, what? Are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine, but please just pick me up tomorrow at the bus stop. So that's exactly what happened. They picked me up. And this whole long, crazy story is really boiling down to my why. So I stayed home with my parents for a good 2 weeks. And we talked about it and we talked about it and we talked about it. And they're like, look, do you really want to be a professional ballet dancer. Because if you do, this is the best spot you can be in this country for ballet. Now, if it's jazz, right, it's different. It's out the West, LA, right? I'm like, for ballet, you got to be in New York. You've got support. You have a family that will support you there, that will help you. What do you want to do? And I had to dig deep. And it really came down to this why that we just did, this exercise. And I'm telling you, you got to dig deep, right? And it took me 2 weeks to really figure it out. And I finally got to the point where I was like, you know what? I have a gift that I feel like I was blessed with, and I have to share it with the world. I have to do this. Like, this is like beyond me. I have to do it. I have so many friends that were just absolutely obsessed with ballet and loved it more than anything in the world. And they couldn't do it because they didn't have the right body type, or, you know, they hurt themselves. They got a really bad injury, or they weren't skinny enough. It's similar to body type, but you know, you can be skinny, but not still have the right body type. Ballet is very, very specific, right? I was like, I have all of this and I have all this talent, and I feel like I was blessed, and I have to share this with the world. And I packed my bags. I bought my one-way ticket back to New York City. And guess what? I made those dreams happen. And every time it got hard, I went back to that why. When there's days where I didn't want to get on stage, I remembered my why. And it took me all the way through for 20 years. And I danced on some of the best stages in the freaking world because of it. So if you don't think you can accomplish that 20 pounds, you're wrong. You can, but you got to know your why. And that's the moral of the story. All right, I'm done lecturing about this. We're going to move on to the next thing, but that why is really going to take you far. So, how do I make this thing go? Go. Next thing. There we go. All right, so pen and paper again, because you'll be able to conceptualize this a lot more. You're going to be able to soak it in a lot more. So you're going to write down, what's the overall encompassing goal? I'm just going to keep using this weight loss one because why not? Let's say you want to lose 20 pounds. All right, so write that out. Write it nice and bold. Make it very clear. Don't make your writing messy. I want you to be able to see it. Write it out, whatever that is for you. Okay. Now, that's your overall arching goal. I wanted to become a ballet dancer, professional ballet dancer. And not just in any company, but in a good company. Okay. So that was my initial goal. Now, we need to make it specific, and we have to make a lot of little goals. If we're going to accomplish that goal, how are we going to get there? So for me, I had to get the right training. You can't just train with anybody. And this goes for everything. There are, you know, I hate to use that whole phrase, you get what you pay for, but for so many things it applies, right? I could have gone to, there's so many, gosh, this sounds terrible, but there's a lot of poor training when it comes to dance. If you don't get a good teacher who really knows technique, you're not going to make it because you're going to have bad technique. You got to have right technique, right? If you want to accomplish your nutrition goals, make sure you're going to somebody who's an expert. You've got to find your expert, right? And then you got to take those steps. So I found the person I needed to train with, right? So be specific on those things, right? Now, it needs to be measurable. Okay, so if you're trying to lose 20 pounds, right, that your measurement is getting on the scale like every 2 weeks. Okay, that's how so you can measure your progress, right? So write that down. It has to be attainable, okay? So you can't, for example, say, well, I'm 300 pounds and I want to lose 100 pounds in 30 days. That's impossible. It's not going to happen, okay? Not healthily anyway, that is for sure. It has to be attainable, right? So be realistic. Okay, so it has to be attainable, and then of course be realistic. And part of that realistic is being realistic in how long it's going to take you to do it. Okay, so if you do want to lose 100 pounds, set it up for a year. You want to do it in a healthy way. So make a deadline is my point, right? Okay, and you may have to rework your goals multiple times to figure out how it's going to work for you. Okay, but you got to write it out. And now something that's cool that I like to talk about. Once you have your overarching goal, if it's, let's just say I want to eat healthier, okay? And so you break down the goals. Okay, I'm going to add in 2 vegetables a day, or maybe it's less than that. Maybe you never eat vegetables. So you're like, I'm going to try 1 new vegetable every week. You know, it can start small, baby steps. Don't think you have to like go from 0 to 60 overnight, because that's how we tend to fail. Is we set, again, has to be realistic, attainable and realistic. And then you should build your confidence, you can go further with it, okay? So hopefully you're following me here. But if it's vegetables, right, you can put a note on your refrigerator door so that every time you come to it, you're reminded of your goal, right? I mean, it sounds so silly, but it really helps. We all need help. Life's not easy. It's not, right? In the mirror, put a note on the mirror. Okay? If you're trying to get in better shape, put your goal, write it out clearly, stick it in the bottom corner of your mirror. So when you're looking in the mirror, your goal is right there in your face, literally. Right? Maybe you sit at your desk and you want to have something up on your desk. Maybe it's something related to work and you're building up towards, you're building your success at work and you want your goal to be posted right there, but you want to be able to see it on a regular basis. Okay? And now this is maybe a little hard to read, but the 2 mindsets, it's kind of cool. And I'd like to go through this. So if you start at the bottom, right? So going at the bottom and you're moving your way up. If you're looking on the blue left side, okay, this is actually not what we ideally want. This is called a fixed mindset. What's ideal is a growth mindset. Okay, now I fall into both categories, if I'm being honest, especially this bottom one. Okay, so success of others on the bottom left, the blue side, it says feeling threatened by the success of others. Oh my gosh, because I'm competitive and I have this inside fear that, oh, I'm not good enough. Da, 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 da. So if somebody is doing a similar thing that I'm also doing and they're rocking it out, I'm like, oh crap, man, maybe I'm just not as good as them. And that's not true. I am as good as them. Maybe I'm better. I don't know, but there's plenty of room in this world for everybody. Okay. This is tough. This is that inner critic. And you just got to say, not today, not today. Okay. Now the flip side of that coin is you find lessons and inspiration in the success of others. So instead of going, oh man, I'm not good enough, look at them and go, what are they doing that I can also add? What can I also do? Right? It's changing the mindset. Moving up the ladder on the left, we got criticism, ignoring useful negative feedback. Now, this one I got down like no problem, because in my career dancing, oh my gosh, all day long we're getting yelled at, point your feet more, get your leg higher, I want another pirouette, it was never ending. So, but it was all because they wanted you to look your best on stage, presenting the greatest show possible for the people in the audience. They bought that seat. They want a wonderful escape. They're looking for a great show and you want to present the best version you possibly can. It's just like you go to a movie, you buy a ticket because you expect to see a great movie. It's a bummer when you go to a movie, you're like, man, that sucked, right? But it's hard sometimes. I understand it can be hard. It can be hard, okay? But learn from the criticism. Recognize it's not personal. It's not a personal attack. Now, granted, I guess people can be personal, but throw that away, okay? Try to use that as constructive feedback, constructive criticism. We can throw out the criticism word and just put in feedback, right? Moving up, effort on the left. With the fixed mindset, it says you see effort as fruitless or worse. Well, that's a bummer. Have you ever, something that really mattered to you, most of the time it doesn't come easy. It doesn't, right? You have to work hard to get your goal. Like at work, right? When you're a new person on the job, you're not going to suddenly become the boss overnight. It takes years. Yeah, usually it takes years. And you slowly move up and you learn along the way in your job. You become better at different things. And then you end up becoming the boss. Right? It doesn't happen overnight. It requires effort. And anything that truly matters in your life requires effort. On the green side, seeing effort as a path to mastery. Boom! Exactly. And it's funny because this little picture, I don't know if you can tell, but really what it is a person like this. They're holding a barbell over their head, right? If you're really trying to accomplish a healthier, more fit body, one workout isn't going to do it, my friends. one workout's not going to do it. But if you're consistent and you do one workout every day, in 6 months, you're going to feel like $1 million compared to what you felt like 6 months ago. But you have to be consistent. You've got to do it every day. You've got to be persistent. Same thing with work. You can't just like put in one 18-hour day and think that you're suddenly going to become the boss. No, but if you put in consistent hard work every single day, then you're probably going to become the boss eventually, because that's freaking hardcore awesome, right? I mean, depending on the world you're coming from, right? If that's what you want to do, great. It takes hard work to accomplish our goals. If you eat one healthy meal, do you think that makes you healthy? No. If you eat lots of healthy meals, your body's going to change. It's going to clean out and you're going to become more healthy. But it's a process and it requires effort on a daily basis. Okay. Moving up, fixed mindset, obstacles. It says give up easily, right? So you eat healthy for 1 week and you're like, man, this stinks, and you give up. But why? Why? If you remember your why, you're not going to give up so easily, are you? Okay. The growth mindset says persist in the face of setbacks. Exactly. So when it gets tough, you don't quit. Why? Because you remember your why. Why? You remember your why. Heck yeah. I remembered my why when the going got tough, right? I had my mini breakdown and I came back to New York and I conquered my goal. And guess what? Even during my career, believe me, man, I had to remember that why a lot of times. A lot. Okay. Next up in the fixed mindset are challenges. Avoiding challenges. You can't avoid challenges. Challenges are going to come up, and that's a part of life. And you might be good at this with some areas of your life and struggle in other areas of your life. Challenges come up. You want to embrace the challenges, and that's the growth mindset. Embrace those challenges. Okay. Last but not least, at the very top, in the fixed mindset, it leads to a desire to look smart and therefore a tendency to fixed mindset. Intelligence is static. With the growth mindset, it leads to a desire to learn and therefore a tendency to a growth mindset. Intelligence can be developed. All right. So it's kind of an interesting thing to think about, those two different mindsets, but you see how different the outcome becomes, right? Embrace those challenges. Recognize it's going to take steps and it's going to take effort. There's going to be some criticism. Use it as feedback to keep growing, and you're going to get there. And you write it out and you check it out in the mirror and you see it on the fridge. Yeah? Okay. Enough of that. Let's move on, shall we? Boom. Look at that. Look at this stat. Under 5% of adults participate in 30 minutes of physical activity each day. A third of all adults are going to receive the recommended amount in a week. Do we know how much physical activity the bare minimum is supposed to be in a week? Anybody want to make a guess in the chat? Wait, I can't see the chat because I'm screen sharing. Katya, is anyone writing in? I'm curious if anyone wants to make a guess. Nobody wrote? Unmute yourself if you want to make a guess and shout it out for me. Nobody wants to make a guess.
150 minutes.
Yes! Thank you, Margaret. It's 150 minutes. Yeah. 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. For moderate activity. Okay, so if you're just walking around the block, that's light. So moderate activity. And this isn't like suddenly like, oh, well, you know, if I'm 90, it doesn't apply anymore. No, it still applies. Every day you're with us on this planet, this applies. Most people don't get 5%, under 5% get it. Like, that's mind-blowing, isn't it? Check this one out. 80%, more than 80% of the adults in this country do not meet the guidelines for both aerobic and muscle strengthening activities. And adolescents don't meet the guideline for aerobic activity. More than 80% of adolescents. The computer age, right? Not people sitting around. Well, we're sitting around right now, but hopefully it's going to ultimately inspire you. It's tough, I realize, but 30 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day. Start with that. You can do that. If 30 minutes a day seems overwhelming, you start with 10 minutes a day and you build it up. with those baby steps. Check that out. Holy manoli. 2030, by 2030, it's projected that a half of all adults in the US will be obese. That's frightening, you guys. That's 9 years from now, really, right? It's almost 2021. That is shocking to me. Shocking. And look at that. And this is from 2018, okay? I'm getting these all off our government website, CDC and all that good stuff. So this is crazy. $190.2 billion on obesity-related illnesses. That's what's being spent in the United States. That's from 2 years ago. So who knows what it is now? And now we got inflation and good Lord. So, I mean, it's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. All right, so moving on. See it. You got to see it to believe it. I love this quote from Napoleon Hill. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve. So this is where, I don't know, it might seem sort of silly, but if you can visualize it, I mean, really visualize it, right? What's your goal, right? Close your eyes. Think about your goal right now. I'm closing my eyes, so hopefully you guys are too, because I can't see you because my eyes are closed. So let's just go on a little ride right now, okay? This was done to me, and I thought it was really cool, so I'm going to do it with you guys. So you're going to pretend you're young and you're 20 years old, okay? And you're trying to work through college. Just bear with me. Keep an open mind. You're 20. You're a young buck. You're trying to work your way through college, so you have a job as a waiter, okay? And part of your job as a waiter, you have to run food to tables. It's really a busy restaurant, but you're able to make good money and it really helps support you while you're working your way through college, right? So it's a tough day at work, you're super busy, but you're psyched because you know you're gonna make good money this day, you're gonna get a lot of tips, and you keep running back to the kitchen and bringing food out to tables and all that kind of stuff, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so freaking thirsty right now. Whew, I'm, a little bit of sweat's on your brow. You're like, oh, and you see a pile of lemons on the side in the back kitchen, and you're just like, oh my gosh, it sounds crazy, but I would do anything just to like have a sip of that lemon. I'm really, 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 really thirsty. I'm hot. I need something to drink. So you run some more food out and you come back and you look at that lemon and you're like, all right, this lemon looks awesome. It's super juicy. And you take the lemon, you pick it up and you put it in your mouth and you start to squeeze it into your mouth and you can taste it, and it's sour, but it's refreshing, and you're like, oh, right. Oh, you're like, thank you. You squeeze it, and you're like, oh, okay, refreshing. You put it down and you keep going. And you can open your eyes. Now, raise your hand if anybody's mouth actually started to water a little bit. Mine did. David admits it. Y'all didn't. Okay, fine. But it works, okay? It works. You've got to visualize. You want to use all your senses. If you want to lose weight, envision yourself, okay, 20 pounds lighter, and how that feels. How much easier it is to walk up the stairs and feel yourself going up the staircase, laughing with your friends, playing with your grandchildren, whatever it is that might apply for you, and how good that feels to have the less weight on your body, right? Or just eating better, or being able to get off medications. How great would it feel to not have to, if you're a type 2 diabetic, how amazing would it feel to get rid of those medicines? How amazing would that feel? There's some people, I'm going to go back one. Can I go back? How do I go back? That number right there. There are people that spend up to $5,000 a month on medicine for type 2 diabetes. Not kidding you. $5,000. When it's something that if they would get their diet, for most people, their diet and exercise, if they could get that under control, they could go into complete remission. All right, moving on. Be resolute. Be resolute. So, you ever had this scenario? I did this the other day. I really did. So I was like, okay, I'm going to exercise before work today because I've got a very long day ahead. And so I set my alarm 45 minutes early. I was just gonna do like a quick 45-minute workout. And because I'm working from home, I was like, it's cool. You know, I'll work out and then I'll just log right in and start working. Okay. So the alarm goes off at like 6 a.m. and I'm like, I didn't sleep well. I'm like, oh, I'm freaking tired. I just don't want to do this now. So what did I do? I looked at my calendar. I was like, you know, I can do it at lunch. I can do it at 12. I'm gonna work out at 12 instead. I reset my alarm for 45 minutes. I skipped my morning workout and I went back to sleep. I get back up, I'm like, cool, doing my thing. My boss drops a meeting on my calendar and now noon, I can no longer work out. I'm like, seriously? I can't work out at noon now. Okay, so what can I do? Well, look at my calendar again. All right, well, later in the day it gets lighter. So I can squeeze something in at 4 o'clock. I'll do like a 30-minute workout and I can do that from like 4 to 4:30. And then I got to do some laundry and I need to start making dinner and like all that kind of stuff. So I'll do that. So 4 o'clock, I literally just change into my clothes. I'm getting ready to do my thing and my mom calls. I'm like, oh, I need to talk to my mom. I haven't talked to her in a few days. I got some things I need to talk with her about. So I'm going to pick up the call. Well, the entire 30 minutes is gone now. And I look over and there's this pile under my bed. And I'm like, I gotta do the laundry. I guess I'm not doing my workout today. It's just not gonna happen because now it's gonna get late and my favorite show is on tonight and I'm just not gonna do it. Forget it. I'm just gonna do it the next day. Excuses, excuses, excuses. Ditch the excuses. I made the non-important things urgent. What's urgent is your health and wellness because you've got nothing without your health. Do you really? You don't, right? If you're not healthy, and I mean, you get really ill, then who cares about the job? You're not gonna, you won't be around for your family, right? So the most important thing you can possibly do is eat well and exercise. That needs to be a priority. And I did not prioritize it. Things that were non-urgent, I made urgent. And that's the truth. Ditch the excuses. We make so many excuses. Time, family, work, the lack of support. First things first, you put it on the calendar. I use Outlook. Even if you use a paid Google account, you can make a calendar. And even if people can see your calendar, they can't see what's on that calendar. So if you're worried about your boss, it's not a good excuse because you can block out time on your calendar. Nobody can see what's on the actual appointment unless you share it with them. They just know that you're busy from 12 to 1. So had I blocked out 12 to 1 on my calendar, unless there was like truly an emergency, if I had blocked out 12 to 1, my boss never could have even booked me a meeting then. I would have been able to exercise, but I didn't block it out. So you're going to block it out. You got to block out time in your calendar. Okay. That's number one. You block out the time on your calendar and then that's what you do every day. Family. Some people are like, well, I don't have the family support, whatever. Include them. Especially right now, we're working from home. Make them do it with you. Are you kidding me? You're like, no, we're going to do it together. We're going to do it as a family. And we all do. My sister did that. My sister has 3 boys. Bless her heart. She has 3 boys, 8, 12, and 16. And when they were all at home from school, oh man, she was really trying to figure it out. But she's like, I got to keep working out. And she made all her kids join her. And it was group family workout day, like every day. And it was good because they needed to blow off some steam and it worked out really well. Right. So try that, right? There are always options. You just got to pivot a little bit sometimes. Yeah. And work. Just like I said, you can work it into your work schedule. Don't let it be an excuse. Okay. Exercising is funny. It's tiring, but actually as you do it more, it gives you more energy. You end up with more energy. So if you want to flip that mindset around, you can realize that if you can find some time to work out, you've got more energy and you can work for longer if that's what you're trying to do ultimately, because you're going to have more energy. Yeah. You're going to sleep better. There's so many benefits around exercise. Okay. Lack of support or motivation. There's so many ways you can find the support. There are apps even. There are podcasts, really incredible, inspiring podcasts dig around on Apple or iTunes or wherever it is you'd like to look for podcasts. But that's the first one that comes to my mind because I always use iTunes podcasts on iTunes. There's so much interesting, cool knowledge out there. And you can listen to a podcast every morning. You can start your morning that way. You could have a podcast going. There's a mindset podcast that I really like. What's it called? The Mindset Mentor. If that interests you, you can write it down. The Mindset Mentor. You can play that. They're short too, like 10, 15 minutes long. Have a, making your breakfast and having a cup of coffee, just to help you get in the mindset that you want to be in to have success in your day, right? Or to help you stay motivated for your health and fitness goals. Okay. Kites rise highest against the wind, not with it. Right? Things that are important to you are not necessarily easy. They don't just come here. They just aren't given to you. You have to work for it a bit, right? Okay. Oh, and I'm just going to read this because it's so cute, right? Sorry, I can't today. My sister's friends, mothers, grandpas, brothers, grandson's uncle, fish died today. And yes, it was tragic. Right? I mean, we look for all kinds of excuses, but ditch the excuses. Be resolute. And accountability, here it comes, right? Being accountable. There's so many options for accountability here, right? You can be accountable to yourself. I'm not saying that works for everybody, right? That's partly why I have a job, okay? Because it doesn't work for everybody. We can't always be accountable to ourselves. So if that's the case, great. Then you can look for a trainer. You can look for a group fitness class that you sign into on a recurring basis so that you have to show up every week. It can be a friend. Now, if you're intimidated by your friend, that's maybe your friend is way more fit than you, find somebody that's closer to your level. I guarantee you, somebody that's at the same level you are, right? And you can do it together. My mom has, my mom, she is 74 and she's got like 5 women and they all go together to work out. Now it's changed a little bit right now, but they call each other and they text each other and my mom's like, I was talking to my friend the other day. She had hurt her shoulder. I made sure she was doing her exercises. She said she hadn't. And then she said, okay, I'm going to do them right now. And she did. She hung up and she did her exercises. And then my mom texted, did you do them? And she's like, yes, I did. So she's got a way of staying accountable. It's really cool. Yeah. So family can be another one. I have a beautiful husband-wife couple. And I work with them and they support each other that way. And it's cute. They'll come on and be like, he did a 30-second plank and I did 45 seconds, Emily. I beat him. Like they have this really sweet kind of friendly competition. It's really cute. So it could be your partner. It could be, someone else in your family. It could be maybe my sister and her oldest son who's 16. They compete a lot, and they work together a lot too. It's fun. You can use technology though too, right? You don't have to actually have a person. There are tons of apps. A lot of people have smartwatches now, right? And they're keeping track of how many steps they do. It's 10,000 steps, it's 15,000 steps. Now, they're not amazingly accurate, to be honest with you, but it's still a way to measure, remember the goals thing? To measure where you're at, okay? So even if the realistic exact number would have been 1,200 or 12,049, and this shows 10,000, whatever. The point is you can keep track, okay? Again, a trainer. It could be a support group. I have a training in transit private now, private group, and I'm looking to build that now as I'm building up this new program I'm coming just to do in the new year. So there's so many different support groups too out there for all ages and levels of everything from success to happiness to fitness to nutrition, whatever it is, it's out there. I promise you, Google is your best friend. There's a lot out there, so don't be shy. I don't know if you guys can see this little note here at the top. I got to get rid of it though. So we're just about wrapping up here. Don't wait for illness to start valuing your health. Recognize that health is an investment, not an expense. It's true. It's true. And mindset is everything. And getting to those goals. I'm going to jump back. How do I go back? I'm going to go back. Wait, can I? Yeah. Where is it? Where is it? This number. I can't get over this number. People paying $5,000 a month for their diabetic medication. What if you spend $100 a session on a personal trainer? That's $800 a month. And I'm not saying that's not a lot of money. It is, but it's an investment in your health with your long-term goal of getting off your diabetic medications. How gorgeous is that, right? And if you've got a good trainer, they're not going to, unless you want to stay with them, they're not going to keep you with them. The idea is to empower them to be able to do it on their own. And how good would it feel? Like, you might know somebody like this who needs to get off diabetic medication. How amazing. The day they don't need their medication anymore and they're saving all that money. And now not only that, they don't even have to pay a trainer, because now it's a built-in habit now, and they're doing it on their own now, and they're working out and they're eating better and they feel good, and they're even more motivated because they feel so much better, right? So it's an investment. It is. It's an investment. And I want to end with one final story. And this is actually something I recently heard, and I thought it was so cool. So Chinese bamboo, they say, well, I don't want to give it away. So Chinese bamboo, you want to grow Chinese bamboo, let's just say, okay? So bear with me here. You got some seeds or whatever, and you stick it in the ground. And now Chinese bamboo, you have to do everything just right. You've got to have the right temperature, and this goes for a lot of plants, right? Temperature, the soil's got to be right, and you've got to give it a certain amount of sunlight and all that kind of stuff. So you're doing this, right? The year goes by, nothing. And you've been doing everything you're supposed to do, right? Continue. Okay, I'm going to just keep doing it. Keep watering it, making sure it's got the right sun, it's got the right temperature, keep nurturing it. Year 2, nothing. Watering it, sunlight, the right temperature, nurturing. Maybe you've even playing some music for it, because plants are supposed to like to be talked to, right? Year 3, nothing. Year 4, playing the music still, sunlight, all this stuff, right? Year 4. Year 5, it comes flying out of that ground. In 6 weeks, it grows 80 feet. That's true, by the way. 6 weeks, 80 feet. They say once it comes out of the ground, you can practically see it growing, because it can grow as fast as 2 feet in a day. Like, that's crazy. But all that time up until it breaks the ground. Now, I Googled this after I heard this. It can actually come out of the ground like in 2 or 3 years. Okay, so it doesn't have to be 5 years. But the point is all that time, it's growing roots underground. It's growing this crazy, insane root system that's super duper strong, so that it can support the insane amount of growth it's going to have when it hits year 5 or year 3 or whatever, right? So when you're trying to get to your goal, like I was saying before, it's not going to we're in the world of instant gratification, right? Like, if I want to know, what year Albert Einstein was born, I just go to Google and I'll find out like in an instant, right? It's like, oh, okay. But in the old days, we had to go to the library. We had to like find a book about it and like flip around and figure it out. And it could take hours or days, not like 10 seconds, right? I can sit in a robe on my couch and get the groceries delivered to my door in 2 hours. Hello, Amazon now, right? And everything under the sun you can imagine, pretty much, you can get delivered in about 3 days, right? I mean, that's crazy. Instant gratification, days of instant gratification. Okay, but it doesn't work that way with things with the things that really, really matter, like success, happiness, fitness, nutrition. You can't eat one meal and expect to be healthy. No, it takes several months. It grows. You got to build that foundation, and you start slowly, brick by brick. Okay. So that is a wrap. I appreciate you all joining me today. This is this is my beta workshop, right? This is part of a 3 parts. So Training in Transit is doing a triad of fitness: mindset, nutrition, and physical fitness. Okay. I'm going to be launching a 16-week program in the new year. And so this is my first workshop. I'll do one specifically just on the physical part of the body. And then, of course, I'll do another 3rd free workshop on nutrition. Excuse me as I itch. right? And that's to bring it together for this 16-week program I'm going to be launching in the new year. If that interests you, let me know. As you see here, I'm going to circle my contact information. There's my email. This is my website, which is not showing my current 16-week program I'm going to launch. My 4-month program, maybe is an easier way to say it. And this is my Facebook handle. There's a whole lot of free stuff on there. There's some workouts on there, training in transit. It would be all one word if you were to put it in the search bar in Facebook. And there's like 10 videos, right? You can just do some basic exercise there if you want to. But that is a wrap. All I asked for is some honest feedback of how you like today's presentation. You can email it here. You could post it on my Facebook wall if you prefer. Hopefully it's good if you're going to put it on my Facebook page. But I'm just looking for some feedback as I continue to grow my program. You guys are wonderful. I hope that you have some nuggets that you can take with you today and accomplish your goals. I'm going to open up if you have any questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen because maybe some of you have a question or something like that. Anybody?
Oh, but thank you for your words of encouragement.
Of course, you're so welcome. You guys, anybody at any time, feel free to email me. I am an open book, and I mean that. So you can email me anytime. If you just have a simple question about, so, I want to eat a little bit less salt or something. My mom has really high blood pressure, and we're working on getting her off her medication, right? And so silly things like celery and beets do wonders to help with blood pressure. Okay, I'm not saying you're supposed to get off your medication tomorrow. My mom is still on medication, but she's at a much lower dose now because she's incorporating beets and celery, and it's really helping. So it's like things like that, right? Any question, if you want to shoot me an email, I'm more than happy to respond.